Hello everyone. Today we are going to look at an instructive endgame study from the book called Studies for Practical Players: Improving Resourcefulness and Calculation in the Endgame. This is a study given in 1941 by Schultz. This is an instructive endgame study due to two things. White first here wants to, as you can see here in this position, White first wants to queen this a pawn, right? Um, The thing is that if he tries to use the normal way of queening the a pawn by supporting this a pawn with the bishop, and then going to trying to get this knight into the play and then play a7 and then finally bring this bishop back to here b7, get this knight somehow to c6 and then play a7 a8. But the problem here is that black will always play rook to a1 and then will come in time for the for coming with from e3 to c4 until b5. One of the lines, as you can see here, I can show you, is that after bishop to c8, black will immediately play rook to a1, and now knight to f4 check, king to a3, knight to d5 check, king to d4. And now it looks like if white wants to go to c6, then he will have to go knight to b5, no sorry b4, and then go to c6. So knight to b4, now king to c5, and now white cannot play a knight to c6, because if white plays c6, knight to c6, then king takes c6, right? So after knight to d3, now king to b5, now knight to d5, then black can simply take this pawn here, and after white takes, because if white doesn't take, then this is a theoretical endgame, bishop and knight against the rook, and then we enter a draw. So this is one of the main problems of using the normal means of trying to convert this position bishop to c8. So what does white need to do here to win this game? The answer is very simple in this position, but just proper reasoning of this position, proper understanding of this position. What does black want to do here? That is much more important. The reason I said why this is instructive endgame study is because as we see in the practical games as well, that even more than what we want to do, we always try to figure out what our opponent wants to do, and then we try to stop it, right? Here is the same case. Here we know that black will always play rook to a1 or wherever the rook is, and then bring to the a file, and then try to bring his king upwards and then take this pawn on a6. That is what black wants to do. So if you think now, what should white do so as to stop this plan from coming on forward? What should white do to stop black from bringing his rook to the a file and bringing his king up and then taking this pawn away? What can white do in this position? If you look now, then you can see that, if there is also this very beautiful kind of a tactic here. If since this king and rook are aligned here, if white brings a skewer, then white has an opportunity of playing a skewer, bishop to b5, and then winning the rook and ultimately the game, right? So this skewer will also play an important motif in this endgame study. So I give you some time to think about the study and let you guys figure out the solution. So if you have tried to work out this endgame study, then great. Even if you haven't tried, then also great, because if you just want to enjoy this for an entertainment purpose, then it is great. So the first move is knight to f4 check. Knight to f4 check, and now this is a forced variation, right? Because after knight to f4 check, this is your king is under attack, your bishop is attacking the rook. So if black doesn't take this sacrifice, if black does not take on f4, then let's say he plays something else, then I take on f1, Bishop takes f1, and then this is immediately win for white, because now a7, a8 will come on the spot. So the move is forced here. Rook takes f4. Now, as I said earlier as well, we don't want black to come to this a file. We don't want to allow black to come to this a file and then stop this a pawn from queening. And this is the reason behind this shows us the important reason why we played knight to f4 check, because now we have the option of playing bishop to d7, stopping rook to a4. We are stopping rook to a4. At the same time, we are threatening a7 and a8. This is our threat. And now, no matter wherever the black rook plays, because this is what black wants to do, right? Come to here and then play to a file. This is what black wants to do at this point. But the thing is that no matter where the black rook goes to, what do you say, to stop this, to go to this a file and stop this pawn from queening, white has an important tactic. Let's see all the options. So as you can see here, king controls the f7 and f8 square, so he cannot go to this 8 or 7. Let's think about f6 later on. We will come to a5. F5 is already controlled by this bishop. f4 is where the rook is currently. f3, then if rook to f3, then obviously bishop to g4 and you win the rook. If rook to f2, then we can immediately play a7, because now this is no use, right? Like rook to f2 does not allow you to go to this a2, go to a2, because the king is in front. So rook to f2 is a useless move. And finally, if rook to f1, then as we said earlier, this important skewer of bishop to b5 check, and after you move, I take the rook and win the game. So the only square that makes a little bit sense for white here is this rook to f6. Right, rook to f6, and now a7. Again, if rook to a6, trying to chase this pawn, then bishop to b5 check, a fork with the bishop, and then after you move, I take the rook. And this is how this endgame study is won. This is the final position after rook to f6 and a7, because now black has no way of queening this, of stopping this pawn to queen. Here, as you can see in the indicator, it is saying that white will mate the black king in 52 moves. It's funny. So thank you for this and attending this video, and I hope to see you guys with a lot more instructive endgame studies such as this. Thank you guys.